Thank you very much for inviting me here to speak. I actually want to start with a bit of apology that's 10 years old, probably almost to the day, actually, Jodie. 10 years ago, it wasn't me, I swear, but it was somebody in my team, my social media team, who Jodie had just won another medal at London 2012, and he tweeted out, "Congratulations, John Candy, on winning at the Paralympics," who is, you're probably far too young to remember, but was a very wonderful actor who wasn't particularly known for being good on a bike in a velodrome, and even worse, had left us quite a few years before that. So Jodie, I am truly sorry it's taken me 10 years to meet you and apologise for that. Thought a lot about legacy and what I wanted to share with you today, and there's an awful lot with this Girl Can that I can talk about in terms of numbers. 3.9 million women more active, 18,000 organisations signed up to support us and make this Girl Can come to life in their community, amongst their sport, amongst their physical activity. I can talk about the size of our online community. I can celebrate the multiple awards that we've won, very much not least is the Sport Industry Campaign of the Year award, and I'm told I had a very good night that night. Remember the start of the evening much better than the end, because it's good to celebrate. And it was fantastic, and it was actually really important, I think. And awards, yes, they are absolutely about celebrating your work and the kudos and the props, and I don't think we should be ashamed of that. But I think for us as well, it was really important in terms of proving that something that was very different for the sort of organisation Sport England is, and was, and still is to a degree, was valued, was esteemed, and was actually doing something different. And so it's that external validation that helps us do more of it. And so actually it was very much part of delivering that legacy too. But rather than spend time, and I can talk for hours on this Girl Can, but I think you probably don't want me to do that, Tom. But if anybody ever wants me to do that, let me know. And I can tell you the ins and outs of how we've done it over the 8 years, what we achieved, how we built up the community and everything. But rather than particularly focus on that, what I wanted to do was to share some of the creative that really remains memorable for me, and some of the this might be quite small, but a little bit of legacy that's left for me, both personally and professionally, and I think is really woven into the way that Sport England as an organisation is working now, which is very different to 7-8 years ago as well. But first, a real indulgence for me, because I very rarely get to see this on a big screen anymore. Love that Missy Elliott track, and I'm not taking the credit, but she did get the Super Bowl gig the year after, so, you know, it might be us. Probably isn't. So I think the first sort of bit of legacy for me, this is deeply ironic, by the way, because 5 minutes before you all came in, my contact lens fell out, which is why I'm in my glasses. So my second apology to Jodie is making him scrabble around on the floor trying to find it. Sorry, Jodie. But looking through their eyes, and I guess this is a more a storytelling way of saying based on insight. This Girl Can is a very insight-driven campaign. But I think what I've really learned from this, and what we really try and apply now, and what's really helped establish that legacy, is not just looking at the data, the insights, the graphs and the charts and all those things that tell you what someone's thinking, but really try and truly understand it and really try and see the world from their point of view. And I particularly love this image. This is one we took for, I think, our second campaign, and it was up at a Manchester skate park, and it was girls' night, and just the way the girls were there for each other, supporting, encouraging, and it was kind of a team sport without it being a team sport. It's something I'd never really sort of seen before and really loved, and there was really energy and attitude. And I think this image for me is try and ask yourself when you're developing anything, so this is not supposed to be a how-to, but the questions, the challenges, what does she need from us to be able to create activities, to be able to actually help create a world where she feels able to go and get physically active, to move, to do what she wants to do. And really going back to that, understanding your audience is really important. And I think that really helped us. When I see the full ad, it reminds me, and it always takes me back to when we first sat in the editing suite and saw it, and there was just silence around the room, and we all sort of didn't dare look at each other, and I loved it, but was terrified to speak in case I found out that other people didn't, particularly my chief exec, who was probably slightly more important in terms of a casting vote than me. Luckily, Jenny Price, who it was at the time, did. Then the night before it was due to launch, being worried that no one would notice, we were dropping it in the middle of Coronation Street, big 90-second ad. It's a high-profile spot, but it's not like the John Lewis ad that people are waiting for, and I couldn't sleep thinking, what if no one noticed it? And it felt really scary, and I guess this partly goes on to my second point about being bold. This was a massively bold thing for Sport England to do. If you know us as an organisation, certainly 10, 15 years ago, and I've been there 18 years, so I was part of it, we were probably quite traditional. We funded lottery, and we still do, investment schemes, projects, programmes. To do a high-profile advertising campaign is not something you'd expect us to do, but funding more of the same was going to get the same results. And so that needing to really think boldly, think differently, and not being afraid to be radical. And if it's based on understanding your audience and what they need, actually being bold isn't as brave as it sometimes sounds. This has been a theme going on through the campaign as well, and has helped to keep delivering for it too. So finding ways of disrupting, provoking and creating conversation, because change comes from conversations. Yes, it's the glossy creative, it's the beautiful ads we put out, but it's the conversations they've generated between women, between us, between the sector, between partners, and that's where change has really come. And getting the tampon string picture, and in the Me Again film that we launched at the beginning of 2020, before that became 2020, was really important, because this was about encouraging women to exercise during their periods, a time when statistically lots and lots of women, and particularly girls, don't, but also about women's relationships with their bodies and accepting the reality of our bodies and not some stylized, glossy nonsense. But it was quite a hard conversation to have, even internally, even amongst this Girl Can team, to decide that we could actually go and do that. So being bold, I think, and actually remembering that it is only by doing that that you can make real change and deliver results is important. And this is Sam from, you'll have seen him in the first film, and one of the first women we got involved. If you've ever heard any of us talking about this Girl Can, you'll know, because we always go on and on and on about it. Street casting, so all the women you feature in the campaign are everyday women getting active in the ways they normally do. Basically, we stalked them at park runs, in the case of Sam, in leisure centres, in gyms, wherever, to actually get women doing what they generally do. And we never use photoshopping or airbrushing, so that authenticity is critical. And I appreciate for everyone that might not be around, using everyday women as opposed to models and actors, or it might be different creatively, it might be different. But I think for me, that authenticity and staying true to the audience that you are trying to reach, staying true to what they need and to what you're trying to achieve is absolutely critical, at the same time as not being afraid to be relevant. And I think that's also been an important part of what we've done, is we've evolved this Girl Can over the years through different phases. Our second film, Phenomenal Women, was released, I make it sound like films, was put on TV just in February 2016, just after Trump's inauguration, at a time when women were marching in the streets. And so we really tapped into that with Phenomenal Women. And then again, we went through various different changes, but having launched Me Again, we'll show you that at the end, at the beginning of 2020, and having amazing plans for that year, like we all did, having to really pivot really quickly and find a way of this Girl Can being relevant to supporting women during the pandemic. And so really adapting how the campaign worked, adapting the creative, and really continuing to support women. I think that's always been really important. I love Sam, because we talk about being bold, but it's one thing agreeing to take part in a film or in a TV ad. It's another thing realising that you're going to have your, as she describes them, wobbly bits and cellulite plastered on massive billboard posters and cinema screens for everyone to see. I'm not sure I'd have the bravery to do that. Assembling a squad. We can't do this alone. And so I think one thing I've really learned is you really need to have partners, connections. You need those people around you who can really make it happen. And we did this from the beginning by, in the 3 months from about now, actually, in 2014, building up to the launch in January 2015, of getting out and talking to the sector, talking beyond the sector, talking to lifestyle commentators, women's magazines, talking to anyone who would listen, frankly, about what we were trying to do, and really getting them on board. And I think that's been really important. And I think it's the bit that gets overlooked. It's easy to look at the ads, it's easy to look at the glossy stuff, but it's those individual connections and relationships. And I think that's been an important part of the legacy as well, because those conversations that we started with our sector and with sport have continued to deliver and shape and change things for women too. And even if it hasn't led to people directly supporting or getting involved in this Girl Can, it's led to conversations about the things that can be done in their sport as well. And it's a bit, I guess, and I think this for me is a big thing of what legacy is about, is you throw a stone in the middle, but it's the ripples that go out and out and out, and then ideally keep on going long after your initial throw has subsided. This, by the way, is the Merseyside Mermaids, and we filmed them in November. They swim year-round in swimming costumes, so none of this open water swimming. They didn't call it open water swimming, it was just swimming. And there certainly wasn't a wetsuit or a dry robe in sight. And they love it more in winter because you can eat more cake, apparently, when you've burnt more calories. I'm not sure that's Chief Medical Officer approved message, so maybe don't quote me on that. But I really love their spirit and their attitude. And I think for this picture really speaks to me about that. You can go further, you can do more when you bring people together and when you find your tribe. That's, I think, has been a really important, as we've built up this Girl Can community. And now things happen that we're not directly organising ourselves, that we're not directly involved in. And I suddenly found out about, and that's, phenomenal and amazing thing to happen. So really thinking about getting that squad together and keeping them involved and engaged. And actually, as we're starting to develop phase 5 of the campaign, it's far more on supporting the people. I'm trying to think of the right word, but they make it happen people, the people on the ground. And it could be Sue from down the street running a running club or a running group, or it could be a sports club, or it could be a local gym. But those people right down at the grassroots making it happen, who we need to be supporting, engaging, because they're the ones who can bring together all those individual decisions to get active that lead to longer term change. And finally, can you see what I've done there? Keep on swimming. Went a bit Dory from Finding Nemo on it. But it's the keeping going. Legacy doesn't come from 1 minute wonders or, a quick in and out. It takes lots of years. It doesn't mean you have to plan it as that. This girl can launch as a 1 year campaign, and then we built on it and built on it and built on it. But you have to keep on building, and you have to keep on swimming. Otherwise, no matter how good it is, it's here today and gone tomorrow. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks for listening. I look forward to questions later.